Good morning, Paul.
Morning, John. How are you doing today?
I am fine, thank you. And it's great to have you on our CTO News Thursday vlog series. So, Paul, you are the Deputy CTO at Atoms Bank, and we're very fortunate to have you talk about FinTech and culture and value. So, to begin with, we have a series of questions that I'm going to ask you, and would love to get your thoughts and share your vision and knowledge. So to begin with, what is Atoms Bank and what challenges is it solving in the challenger bank sector?
Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great privilege to be here speaking with you today. In terms of Atoms Bank is a challenger bank, and it was formed really because banks have got a general problem, as in no one likes them, but everyone has to use them. No one really trusts them as much as they should do. They trust them from a security perspective generally, and that type of stuff, but they don't trust them as in they think they're getting value or being treated fairly necessarily. So Atoms Bank set up with the customer at the heart of everything that we do. So actually, it's about providing value to that customer. It's about providing a service to them that actually is the service they're looking for and they need, but at an appropriate price. So the ways in which we do that is around reducing the number of channels that we've got. So we're an app-only bank. So effectively, we haven't got the same inefficiencies or costs or overheads of running the multiple channels of a web, of a contact center, of branches and that type of stuff. And we're also looking at areas of the market which really people aren't being well served by the traditional banks. So if you look at savings, for example, savings rates in the big banks for years have been basically 0.01%, rather than actually treating them fairly. And as you see the interest rates increasing with the Bank of England at the moment and the cost of living, all you're seeing is the gap between their savings rates and their mortgage rates increasing. And actually at Atom, they're trying to basically be fair to everybody by offering good rates. So when the interest rates increases by Bank of England, actually our savings rates increase. As our mortgages rates would have to increase as well, but actually you are doing both, rather than you see with the big banks where it's largely they're just moving their mortgage rates. So I know certain things might move every once in a while differently, but it's a rule of thumb, that's what's happening.
Excellent, thanks for sharing. I think it just shows that Atoms Bank is trying to keep one step ahead, not only of the Bank of England's rates, but also trying to keep ahead of how to better serve customers who are looking for something different, and that's really great to hear and see. Excellent. So what has been your career journey at Atoms Bank to date?
I've been there almost from the beginning in very various guises. So initially I worked for one of the third parties at Atoms Bank. So at Atoms Bank, I actually worked for a third party who had the contract for the main core banking and for the infrastructure and everything else. So the hosting of what the original bank was. So Atoms Bank has been built twice. Is probably one of the things to know. So initially based largely on third-party products, and then again in the cloud using cloud native and actually bringing the technology and the service and the delivery of that technology in-house. So initially I worked as the program director for the first bank for the third party. Then I left them and then joined directly, initially as environments and infrastructure manager. And then shortly after that I became head of change. Then I took on the head of test as well as head of change. And then I took on service in terms of, and that's when I became the deputy CTO, because when I took on service, I still had change and I still had environments and I still had testing. Then after that, during that journey, we did the migration, which we can go through in more detail later if that's helpful for everybody. And then once that was in, we basically working off our methodologies at that point and our stack and everything else. I then became head of delivery. So basically, as well as being deputy CTO. So that basically makes me accountable from an activity perspective of everything from the initial idea through BAs, architects, through into engineering, different types of level of engineering, whether that be test, whether that be DevOps, whether that be actually just in terms of front end, back end, or data, and then through into transition to get it live. But using an agile methodology in terms of how we can do that and how we can basically make it iterative in terms of small change regularly so that people notice and feel the difference. So that's the variety of jobs that I've had at Atom over about 5-6 years now.
Wow, that is amazing. I think that just shows the depth of knowledge that you have, working within that space, whether it be from sort of the product ideation environment right through to the various types of testing and agile methodologies that's needed to deliver, such activities. So great to hear. Excellent. So how did you build, manage and motivate high-performing teams? What's been your secret?
So I think it's about honesty. And honesty, people seem to shy away from being honest to almost say what they think people want to hear. And actually, how do you build a high-performing team? You're straight with them. You explain to them the North Star, the goal that you're heading for. You explain the challenges that you've got. You explain where that challenge fits in on that journey, where it fits on the bank's journey as well. So actually the difference it's going to make. And then you sort of work with them to go, right, well, how do we fix this? Not this is me imposing this on you and you therefore must do this by this date, but actually let's understand this is the challenge. This is why a date is important. This is what it means for us overall, but then this is how it takes us on the journey. So honesty is the first thing, and actually giving them the vision overall. And then it's really around respect. So they come with different skills and different skill sets and different types of people. Engineers can be a bit more in within themselves and want to just get their head down and work, but you still got to do that as a group. So you make certain there's the appropriate touch points. So in terms of the appropriate stand-ups and ceremonies, so that you actually stay close on a literally a day-to-day basis, because you've got to, because of the pace in which you're having to work, and because any bank is non-trivial. It's not a simple system of one or two components. It's got hundreds, in terms of when you're providing it from an end-to-end perspective. So in terms of building it, really just be honest. Give them a vision, explain where they are on that vision and how we're actually building towards something special together, and respect them and respect the different types of people that they are. And then finally, I guess you just need to show them empathy at times, as in life's tough. Life's been really tough over the last few years, and lots of different things have been thrown at us, some of which we had no idea about and some of which we did. So obviously we knew Brexit was coming. We didn't know COVID was coming, and actually all the things that's done in terms of the ways of working, the unsettling around what's happening at home, the fact that you might have done homeschooling, you could have people ill in your family and that type of stuff. So you've also, whilst building this high performing team, you've got to also show empathy around what's taking place in their lives, which may not be purely work related, while still going, but work's really important for everybody else as well. So actually, how do you keep the pace going while that's all taking place, and all those wider challenges that are happening in the world?
Brilliant, great to hear. Trust, empathy, and showing a vision that you're looking to lead your teams through is absolutely crucial, and that's great to hear once again. Brilliant. So can you share any successful projects that you've been involved with at Atoms Bank, or that you have led as Deputy CTO at Atoms Bank?
I guess I don't argue whether it's the most impressive thing, but one of the largest things that we went and undertook, one that you could argue again that one of the bravest things is, we're a bank basically been live 6 years, something around that number, but we decided after a short period of time to actually rebuild the whole bank and to move from the almost commercially off-the-shelf products with third parties and largely using in data centers, to actually rebuild, bringing most of it engineering and technology in-house to actually then build in the cloud. So as part of that, we still needed the bank to keep running. So the existing bank had to keep going, because otherwise, that's what's bringing in money and paying bills to enable us to go and rebuild it. But in many ways, when you're sort of doing that type of activity, you've got a plane and it's in the air and you're changing the engine. And you're not just changing the engine, you're going to change the whole plane from a traditional plane to something that's like a fighter jet, because you're going for speed and efficiency around how you're going to do it. And it's kind of, that's a very difficult thing to do, because you've got to you got a hearts and minds challenge around some of the individuals, because basically they've spent a lot of time and energy building the original bank, and you've got to then say, no, well, let's build this one because this one will be even better. You've got a challenge around how do you do it in a safe, secure way. The regulator obviously going to be very interested in it. Your customers, you want them to almost not know it's happening. All they need to know is actually they're getting a new app, and the app's shiny and it's got a new design on it. Actually, what's happening in the background, as long as it's quick and it's still secure and it's still safe and everything else, is all good, from their perspective. So it's like, how do you do that without affecting anybody? So obviously a big undertaking, building the bank, doing it in phases, doing the migration of not just the accounts and building the new products onto the new system, but also actually building bringing the customers across, so there's all the customer data associated with that, without anyone knowing. But also then off the back of that, it's building a technology group, because that, though it existed before, it basically needed to about triple in size, because all of a sudden you're providing all these features yourself. So you've got to build the processes, procedures, technology around all that as well. And was it a success? Absolutely, it was a success. And that's shown largely, I think, the success of those type of projects are you don't end up in papers and no one knows bar a shiny app, which is great in our sense. And actually, was it a success? Yes, because our Trustpilot ratings, our App Store ratings, they all shot up post, because we were quicker, and we were also able to get change out much quicker. So we went from getting roughly around sort of 15 apps out a year to suddenly getting out 50. And that incremental change in customers feeling it was directly seen through the ratings that we're getting in the app stores and the Play stores.
Excellent, great to hear. And it's absolutely great to see as well, as you mentioned, the Trustpilot ratings for yourselves shoot up. It's I think it's near 5 stars at the moment. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah, we're at 4.7 out of 5, which for a bank is, well, for any company, it's outstanding. For a bank, it's particularly special. And our App Store and Play Store ratings, again, they're around the 4.7 mark. They fluctuate here and there, but they don't really go down much below that, which is, again, it's amazing, and it's great that the customers, from a technology perspective, it's great that that's how the customers feel, in terms of actually working with us and actually using our stack.
Absolutely. And that quite sort of quite nicely leads us to the next question, which is, you've mentioned this previously in terms of data and tech versus customer and value, and the question is the why. So what is that why, that Atoms Bank and yourself are trying to answer with regards to, the delivery of your solutions and services and applications to the customer?
So data and tech, as a deputy CTO, it's very, very important to me, but actually it's got to have a purpose. And the purpose has to be, I'm providing a value to the customer, and something that's demonstrably better than what they could get somewhere else, because ultimately they've got to trust us, and it goes back to the concept of how do you build a high-performing team, how do you build a customer base that's sticky. You basically, they need to trust you and feel like they're part of the journey too, and that actually they understand what you're doing and where you're going with it. But you need to use data and tech to enable them, to help them, not to hinder them in any way, shape, form. So if an example in terms of data or tech that works against me, as far as I'm concerned personally, is my mortgage. I was with one of the big banks. When they change the rate, I can literally find out off them that they're increasing my rate before I get the BBC News article, because they text me so quickly and notify me to tell me they're increasing the rate. That's tech working against me, because actually it's quite an emotive subject. I'd rather they don't increase the actual rate on that day, but they give me the notification literally within an hour, 2 hours. I'd much rather they waited a couple of days and then just told me that's what's going to happen. And I'd understand, because I understand that's what's happening. But if you're thinking as well around data and tech, a mortgage journey, that's the journey you're on isn't a mortgage journey. The journey you're on is buying a house. And so actually, how do you use data and technology to help somebody to buy a house? You rather than, so if you could buy a mortgage today, go and apply for a mortgage today, it takes roughly around 6 weeks, which is a long period of time to wonder, can I put an offer in on this house? that I've just walked in that I'm very excited about, am I going to lose it because somebody else has got an offer? Well, actually, will anyone even take me seriously because I don't actually have the money underneath and they're just going to think you're just having a nosy around my house type of stuff. So actually, if you're with Atom and you hit the right parameters, then actually you can have a mortgage in less than 30 seconds. You can have the offer all the way through from application all the way through with all the KYC. So that's using technology and data and modern banking in terms of APIs and open banking to basically be able to go and do all the checks on the house, on the people, to be able to go and give the documents within less than 30 seconds, which means you can literally walk into a house, be really excited and go, I really can afford this. I can apply through and basically get the offer there and then. Now, the challenge, just being open, the challenge that we have is how do we make that available for more customers, as in so more people pass through. But even if you drop out, you're dropping out partway through the process, rather than you dropped out right at the beginning and still going to take 6 weeks. So you're still going to be quicker overall than you would be in a big traditional bank in terms of a typical bank in terms of the mortgage market. But that's using data and tech to enable you to actually help you on the real journey you're on. And I think that's one of the things that banks regularly forget is actually it's not about the bank. What you're doing, well, I'm buying a car, I'm having a loan, I'm buying a house, I'm saving because I'm actually going on holiday. I'm saving because I've got a young lad who's going to go to university or whatever. So actually that's the journey you're really on. And not I'm on a journey which is I want a savings account, I want it to be this, that, the other. I want a mortgage, I want a loan. Regardless if whether, and that's the same whether it's a retail customer or whether it's a business customer. You've got to think around what's their actual journey that they're on and where do you fit and how do you enable that journey? How do you make it so it's slick and easy? And that's what tech and data should do. And if you can do that where there aren't the touch points to the same extent and not the dropouts, then you get better value because you've got more straight through processing, so you haven't got the same cost. But it's all got to be done safe, securely, and at the right risk ratios and all that type of stuff. But I think that's really key and critical around how do you use data and tech properly.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Brilliant. So yeah, it's great to hear sort of the intangible and the tangible needs that data can serve with regards to looking at their customers' desires and wants, etc. Brilliant. Okay, so in terms of recently, obviously, from our conversations, we talked about Atom's Bank achieving a 4-day week for its staff. It'd be great to learn more if you can share, and just how that came about and what were the outcomes.
So yeah, we went to a 4-day week last November. So we're 11 months in right now, and it's a permanent thing. We initially did it as a trial, and why did we do it? We did it because it was the right thing to do. Simple as that. It's the right thing to do for our people. It was the right thing to do in terms of everything that everyone was going through in terms of in the market, in terms of the wider world that was taking place in terms of COVID and everything else, and in terms of coming out of that and the pressures that people were under. But also it was the right thing to do because we could still achieve the same efficiency, the same delivery, and we've proven that through all our metrics are either the same or better than they were prior. And so what have we done? We've extended our working day by an hour. So you're basically doing 34 hours rather than 37 and a half. But we kept the pay the same. And everyone got either Friday or Monday off, in terms of that. That's the way it works for, we needed still to do it fairly. So there are some nuances around how we make certain it's still fair for the contact center staff who were there 7 days a week, or how it's fair for the service desk from a technology perspective who were there 5 days a week, so that it's balanced. But in terms of actual, when we went and looked at by department, every metric, they've all gone up. Part of that's because your attrition's not the same. So you've actually got people, they know each other, they know how to work together. So actually you just gain efficiencies in that way. And also, if we're honest, 3.5 hours in your week, you could probably find 3.5 hours purely in meetings, because we definitely did, which actually you don't need to be in just by cutting down numbers. So you don't lose anything, and you just have lots to gain. So we're the largest company in the UK who did it. So far, I know there are more initiatives now. It's now been signed off by our board, and we're permanently going 4 days a week, and that's all formally announced. From a people perspective, it's it's like, feels like you're giving back, and you are, but also just the bond that it's helped from a employee. If you've got employees that are engaged, then that shines through in everything that they do, not just in the contact center, but shines through in how they operate together, how they then produce stuff, or how we then our velocity, our throughput, and therefore our outcomes in terms of what you go and deliver. So 4-day week overall has been a massive, massive win. The challenges that it's brought mainly have been where you do work with third parties, because you can't enforce a third party to work 4 days a week, and at the same time, it's very visible to them that they're being asked to work on the 5th day, even if we're not necessarily around as much as possible. Some third parties have come with us and gone, we'll do 4-day week with you. Others haven't been able to, because they've got to think about everywhere else, in terms of all their other customers as well. So it does give different challenges for different people. But overall, from an Atom perspective, it's amazing.
Excellent, fantastic. And that must be one of the best places to come and work. So it's great to hear. Fantastic. And my final question is, in terms of Atoms Bank, what's on your current technology roadmap that you can share?
So a technology roadmap, I don't really think of it as a technology roadmap. I think about around actually what's our strategy, what's our wider roadmap to go and deliver. So yes, okay, on our technology roadmap, we will be replacing certain products, or we might need additional products to go and do it. But actually, why? It's because actually our customers need the following things, and that's our offering that we're going to. So we'll be doing different things around mortgages than we do today. We'll be looking at how do we improve the process to widen effectively to enable more people to go straight through, so that the dropout rates are lower, so that people get greater efficiency. We'll be looking at what we're doing from a business perspective, and therefore what we can offer directly there, and where it makes the most sense to go and do things. But yeah, thinking about things as a technology roadmap, I don't think necessarily is the right things. Yeah, apart from, well, I've got all these components and I need to make certain that they are still modern, they're still right, they're still appropriate for the bank, they're in the right direction for where we're going. Obviously, we've rebuilt the bank once. Yes, there'll be certain components we'll take in and out as we go, because it's just actually things have changed in the market, and things change regularly in tech. And it's really, really key that you stay up to date with actually what's the latest movements around that type of stuff, so that you stay as slick and efficient as possible. But also because one of the things that keeps employees there is actually working on the latest tech, because it's exciting, more than anything else.
Excellent, great to hear, brilliant. Well, thank you, Paul. That really does bring us to the end of our CTO News Thursday vlog. And it's been a pleasure listening to your insights. It's been a pleasure hearing the great work and the great delivery of activities that's been shared with your customers. And, we wish you every single success in the future with regards to your role as Deputy CTO at Atoms Bank, and a great value that Atoms Bank is delivering to its customers. Thank you once again, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you.